What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the 1996 album by Tupac or Makaveli. Basically, this project is called Killuminati, the 7-Day Theory, and it came out in the fall of 1996. Now, this album was supposed to come out in early 1997. This is the last project that Tupac worked on before his death in the fall of 1996, and the concept about it kind of is just the fact that this is a pretty heralded project. It has some of Tupac's biggest songs on here. Unfortunately, Hit 'Em Up, the song he recorded as a diss song against the Notorious B.I.G. isn't on here, but there are a ton of other songs that just have a lot of good controversy about them. This is a pretty large scale album. I definitely think this probably would have done a lot of damage had Tupac lived to see it happen. He was gearing up to really get this towards some stuff. I didn't realize that Toss It Up was a song that was just weeks within being released before Tupac's death. Like, I want to say that the Toss It Up music video was recorded like the day before he got shot, before he got killed. So that's kind of the concept about it. Definitely a swirl of differential type stuff about Tupac here. This was something that was recorded in August of 1996 and was just done basically within 7 days. Tupac wrote the lyrics and did the recording within 4 days. It's pretty awesome to kind of get that. This is definitely just a work of art, I would have to say. Between this one and then All Eyes on Me, Tupac was basically unstoppable in 1996. Just really had the Midas touch, was doing everything right around that time. And it really is just a colossal shame that Tupac was not able to see this project be marketed, because I think this probably, I definitely see this as like a 5-star album in terms of just like standard, not just if you're a fan of rap, but this, I would have said that this probably would have been a pretty revolutionary one. This one doesn't get the sheer like true degree of like the height of it, just because it was kind of seen as like posthumous, just because Tupac wasn't able to promote it and that type of stuff, get the radio singles out and some of that. And Tupac was pretty dramatic on here. But the thing about it kind of is, in some senses, is I kind of look after it, Tupac was kind of calmer on this project. There's some songs like a hit single on here called To Live and Die in LA. That's just a different approach from Tupac. For the most part, Tupac was always kind of more ferocious and energetic, but there's some songs on here that just depict like a calmness factor in him just kind of becoming a lot more wisdom like and just more kind of mellow as far as that kind of went. It's interesting to kind of see that variation of Tupac, because just what he was on, and like All Eyes on Me with songs like Ambitions as a Rider and some of those type songs like Thug Passion and some of those type ones that were just vivid kind of summer energy. But I look after, I mean, there's definitely some energetic songs on here. Like, I feel like a good sequel to Ambitions as a Rider in terms of energy would be songs like Me and My Girlfriend and Hail Mary. But there's definitely some other ones on here that just have a different shade of Tupac, and it's just interesting to kind of get. So this is just very much a classic Tupac album. This is definitely one that I recommend still getting today. It has plenty of summer energy. This is just a boundless kind of summer album that just has a lot of profound kind of aspects about it that just work extremely well. And this is just a work of art to kind of see in terms of this like death row music, California rap, and just overall 90s gangster rap and G-funk as far as that kind of went. There's some good stuff on here. Now, one thing to note is just the fact that there's not really too much other death row affiliation. It's kind of unfortunate that Snoop Dogg's not on here at all. Then also Tupac was kind of having a beef with Dr. Dre, which he disses Dr. Dre on the lead single Toss It Up. So I think that was getting ready to happen. Dr. Dre was on the verge of putting out like his Aftermath label and that type of stuff, which originally the Been There Done That song was supposed to be like a response to Tupac and the stuff that he was saying towards him throughout like the late summer and early fall of 1996. But when Tupac died, I think Dr. Dre just kind of rearranged that. But yeah, Tupac at least was making barbs towards getting at Dr. Dre and having a beef with them on Toss It Up and songs like that. So it would have been interesting to see how that kind of turned out. But basically, yeah, this is a pretty hit album. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the singles here. The first single is Toss It Up, and this is kind of a nice glazed summer splash of a song. I would definitely have to say it's an easy hit single, and it's like some classic Cali Tupac, I would have to say, and it's just a great woozy commercial beat, I would have to say. So this is just an excellent Tupac song. I really think that this song probably would have done excellently had it managed to happen in Tupac's lifetime. This is really like the last song that he managed to work on before getting shot, and like I said, I think he did the music video for this song just a day before he got shot. So it's just very unfortunate that we were not able to kind of see the vibes as to how this song would hit. This is definitely one of my favorite Tupac songs. Here. This just has a lot of gloss towards it. It's very commercial, has a lot of bite as far as that kind of goes. Just an aspected one that this was an evolution of some of the stuff that he did on All Eyes on Me. I feel like a song like he teams up once again with Casey and JoJo, which is folks that he teamed up with the song How Do You Want It off of All Eyes on Me, and that song hit #1. So this is a good sequel to that, and it just has a lot of good R&B type flash on here. Once again, this is a diss song towards Dr. Dre and that type of stuff. Dr. Dre was on the hit song in 1996 called No Diggity, which was kind of a summer tune. So Tupac was alive to see that song and have a response and diss Dr. Dre and that type of stuff. So it was interesting how that kind of turned out. This was just a brewing type thing as far as that kind of went. But this is just a very glared, kind of glazed, this summer splash of a song. This really has some vibrant kind of energy, and it's just an overall effectual one. I would almost say if Tupac would, I almost would say if Tupac wouldn't have died, this song probably would have done a lot of damage. I think it was just surprising. Back in these days, like there weren't like back in the '90s, there weren't too much of things to really say about posthumous albums just because it wasn't happening that much. But I definitely think Toss It Up would have been a lot bigger had Tupac lived to see that happen. This would have been an excellent one. This is an excellent song. So the second single is To Live and Die in LA, and this would have been another interesting one to kind of see here. This is a lazy kind of summer evening malaise of a song, I would have to say. It's some good makeshift like fare, definitely, and it's just kind of a more composed Tupac, I would have to say. So this one kind of just has a lot more bewildered and kind of malaise type feel about it. This really feels like something that would have just been it's a lot more kind of more suit and tie and just more blue collar type Tupac as far as that's kind of concerned. Not so much like the gang banging and just overall kind of gap busting type songs that you would hear in that sort of sense. It's kind of a little bit more refrained. I just feel like the concept is just more reflective of songs. It's just interesting kind of get this vibe because this sort of Tupac there were introspective songs on All Eyes on Me, but it was just kind of a miss, like taking a breather, just like more in night type fare before sleeping and just going out and partying the next day again, as opposed to just reflecting, kind of being like, wow, look at some of the times that have passed in that sort of sense. This is kind of the concept of kind of getting that. It's just an interesting kind of context of a song. I definitely think To Live and Die in LA would have been a nice autumn of 1996 song. It would have been like a nice kind of breezy kind of one to have kind of had just for like cooler weather and just kind of calming down and appreciating like the more kind of settling down cuffing season type atmosphere as far as that kind of goes. Just a nice kind of malaise kind of one for that. I mean, this feels like a summer tune, but I just like the concept of just the more composed and kind of cooler nature of this one. Just an interesting angle from Tupac because he's normally so energetic and furious that he was throughout 96 and 95 and stuff. So it's just an interesting angle. The third single is Hail Mary, and this is definitely a pretty popular Tupac song. This is one of his most popular songs nowadays when you think of some of those ones like California Love and then like ambitions as a writer is just probably some of his most militant and productive kind of energy, just a real ambitious kind of tune that just has a lot of ferocious energy, just a real kind of hit song. This is kind of like a hell-raising zombie like Liddy groove, I would have to say. I definitely like to feel this one, just an excellent cult like beat, I would have to say, and the thrilliness of this song is off the meter. So I definitely feel like this is just a very large gargantuan kind of song as far as that kind of goes. Just has a lot of rave energy about it, just really gets you thrilled and excited, gives goosebumps, that sort of stuff. This Tupac and the Outlaws did an excellent job with this particular song. This would have been a pretty dominant song throughout 96 and 97, once again, had Tupac lived to have done it. I just think that this was really some of this kind of more controversial and this kind of ubiquitous, kind of monumental figure type stuff that Tupac was kind of reaching around this time. So this definitely would have been a hit song to have seen. I'm really curious as to how this song would have charted had Tupac lived towards it. I just think this would have been interesting to kind of had Tupac tear up like 97 as far as that kind of went, just with what he could have done. Because originally Makaveli, the album was supposed to come out in like the winter of 1997. So it would have been interesting to kind of seen that, just a different pitch. But as far as that kind of went, it's just some good stuff here. Just a real monumental kind of song with just a lot of ravenous energy and just a good kind of song in the same pitch. If you like the energy of Tupac on songs like Ambitions as a Writer and some of those type ones, it's pretty much another song like that. So to talk about the songs on this album, so out of 12 songs on this album, there's really only 2 songs on this album I don't recommend at all. So those 2 songs would just be Bomb First, My Second Reply, and then Against All Odds. Basically, the first song you hear and the last song you hear. Those are the only real 2 songs I didn't vibe with at all. So basically, this album's going to get a 10 out of 10. So talk about Bomb First. Basically, that song just didn't really have a real compelling kind of atmosphere about it. Just didn't really, I mean, I feel like these are some of the more wartime type Tupac songs. Some of these ones are just a little bit more furious and just kind of had some of that more energy that he had on like Hail Mary, just with the more kind of beefing type atmosphere about it. I just feel like some of these just didn't quite work as well. I mean, I think some of these were directed at like Mobb Deep and Nas and some of those type folks and Puff Daddy and some of them. But there's not really any Biggie disses on this album. He doesn't really do that on this one, but he does kind of have like some other cats like Jay-Z, Nas, and Mobb Deep and some of those type folks. But Bomb First and Against All Odds just were kind of some poor type songs, which was really Bomb First and Against All Odds were really like the only 2 poor ones on here. I just would have to say they're just kind of more kind of beef like songs and just kind of militant type ones that just didn't work that well. Those are like the only real true ones I just had true problems with. But I just would have to say, I mean, they are some ravenous kind of more rave Tupac. It's more It's him where he's in a more ferocious type angle, just in a more militant type angle. It's just an interesting type fare for that, just as he was gearing up to go to wartime and that type of stuff. It's just kind of the concept that the beats and production of those were just not as good. I think if you're looking for a more ravenous ride out kind of Tupac, I would just go with something like Hit 'Em Up or Hail Mary or something like that. Those are some better ones. But I just would have to say, so yeah, basically all the rest of the songs on this album talk about some of these. Basically, a real hit song on here that's just an excellent one overall for the ladies is Just Like Daddy. This is a vibrant summer flash of a song, I would have to say. It's a it's some great recreational fare, and it's definitely a smoke a few track, I would have to say, and it's just a vintage Tupac hit. So this is just some good summer fun. Just would have to say, just an easy kind of highlighted one. If you like Thug Passion by Tupac or California Love, something like that, this is just an easy hit song kind of get. I like that Outlaws are on this song too. This is just a good complimentary type one that works for Tupac and Outlaws. Just some good summer fun, just easy, kind of breezy type tune to hear June, July, August. Just let the times roll as far as that kind of goes. Life of an Outlaw is like stock kind of Tupac and Outlaws type fare, I would have to say. This is like vintage Tupac vibes, I would have to say. It reminds me, it's similar to Me Against the World Tupac, I would have to say, from 95. Kind of takes it back to like those type days that just like the more kind of lightly introspective, kind of thought-provoking, but still kind of thuggish Tupac as far as that kind of goes. And it's just got some stock paranoia and character. So this is just more vintage Tupac, kind of vanilla Tupac, but it's just not quite as crazy or as ravenous as he can get on here. But it is kind of is one that just has like pretty much like, once again, the Me Against the World Tupac angle. So if you missed that Tupac, this is a good song for that sort of context. So a vintage Tupac tune off this album that got over 50 million plays on Spotify, which is one of Tupac's most popular songs overall, I would have to say, is Me and My Girlfriend. This is a trailblazing tied up track, I would have to say. It's a wavy summer blazer, and it's a classic Riders Chica tune, I would have to say. So I just would definitely think about this song. This is a ride or die Chica fare as far as that kind of goes. Just some Chicas that are really riding out for you and that type of stuff. Definitely a good summer heat type tune that you can just listen to from like mid-May all the way to October, just something like that. It's just a definitive kind of Tupac tune that just has a lot of summer energy. This really feels like a pretty defining Tupac song. It's just a vintage kind of vanilla Tupac tune at this particular point. Just another vintage classic Tupac tune like To Live and Die in LA, Hail Mary, and Just Like Daddy, and Toss It Up, and some of those type ones. Just oozes kind of energy as far as that kind of goes. Just very stock one. Just kind of a simple ride out kind of tune that just stretches for summers, countless summers. You can listen to it this summer, next summer, summer after. It just carries that sort of energy. It's a good ride out tune that just has a lot of emphasis. Good hit. Crazy is a pretty nice one. This is a woozy kind of dreary makeshift song similar to Live and Die in LA. Definitely. It's a more relaxed and composed Tupac, but it's very compelling. So I'd have to say about this one, like I was saying, there's a series of Tupac songs on here like To Live and Die in LA, Crazy, and like I was saying, there's a series of composed Tupac songs on here like To Live and Die in LA, Crazy, and White Man's World that just have a lot more composed and just kind of more like relaxed and just kind of more understanding Tupac and just more reflective Tupac, that this is different from the sort of valve that he was at. It was just interesting that he was starting to reach this valve, but it would have been interesting to see the sort of angle that he would have had as this sort of developed more, just to see if some of these would have translated into singles and just the sort of context that he would have had with his lyricism as far as that kind of went. But this is some good stuff. Crazy is definitely a pretty nice one. He used to really rock with that song. Just a good bop to kind of have. It's vintage California. Like, there's just so many songs on this album that are just meant for some. This is just some really kind of woozy, dreary type stuff that's meant for lazy, kind of smoke a few type days as far as that kind of goes. Just some easy swisher and zigzag kind of music as far as that kind of goes. Like, another hit song on here is White Man's World. Like I was saying, this is similar to Crazy and To Live and Die in LA. This is just a laid back, kind of bruised, kind of taken aback tune, I would have to say. It's White Man's World is a real nice one. This is like a laid back, kind of bruised, taken aback type tune, I would have to say. It's a solid smoke one cut, definitely. And it's just got some simmering summer blaze feels about it. So this is just another highlighted one. Definitely kind of like the more mature kind of energy of Tupac on here. It just really has a good appeal about it. It's interesting getting some of these Cali vibes, just the context of it, because I think even Tupac was kind of phasing. I think even Tupac, in some senses, was starting to phase out of gangster rap. It just would have been interesting to have seen gangster rap and G-Funk and that type of stuff in 97 to 98 had Tupac made it to that point, because I just question what the angle of it would have been. There's a lot of folks that said that Tupac wouldn't have been on death row anymore after like 97 or so. It just would have been interesting to see how that context would have happened. But I think he probably would have stuck around for a little bit longer, but maybe not 4 or 5 years longer, maybe 1 or 2, but not 4 or 5, something like that, I would have to say. But so Hold Your Head is another hit Tupac song. This is a vintage kind of 1991, 1993 Tupac. I would have to say it's similar to more introspective gems that he used to put out back in his early days, and it's just a good new take on songs like Keep Your Head Up by Tupac. So this is definitely one that just is a lot more thought provoking, and Tupac nails it pretty well. It just has like some real kind of mellow and just kind of lazy kind of vibes about it. Just real kind of summer, there's some real kind of summer lays about it. But I just like the concept of just kind of getting these thought provoking ones because it's kind of some G funk type style. It's not like the boom bap type stuff that was on like Strictly for My Niggas and Tupacalypse Now by Tupac, but it's still that kind of thought provoking stuff like Keep Your Head Up and like Dear Mama and some of those type ones. And this songs like that off of Tupac's early days as far as that kind of one. It's just a nice one for that sort of fare. And then Blasphemy is another stock Tupac song. This is a great Paranoia Smoke a Few cut. I would have to say it's a real brooding, haunting, and moody type song. I would definitely have to say, and it's a new dope angle from Tupac. I definitely feel like so. This is kind of one. This really feels like a bruised kind of song. This one just kind of feels like a bruised and brooding kind of song. Definitely like the concept of this one. Just a real kind of paranoid, just really kind of oozes character type one. Just for some thrilling kind of smoke sessions as far as that kind of goes. Just like the pitch of this particular one. Just has a lot of good energy as far as that kind of goes. Definitely need another song like this on the album. This would definitely would have been great to have gotten some more songs like Blasphemy on this particular album or further Tupac albums because this is just a good example of like some smoke a few swishers, smoke a few backwoods type tunes from Tupac as far as that kind of went. This is an interesting kind of angle to kind of have that. So those are just some nice ones. This would have to say. So yeah, these are the songs on the album I would definitely say. So there's basically 10 songs out of 12 I enjoyed on this album. I'm going to give this album like a 10 out of 10. The social score I'm going to give a 10 out of 10 also just because it has a lot of good variety. And the thing I like about Tupac on this album is just the fact that he has like a compact amount of songs on here. There's only 12 songs, but he balances and varietizes his song well. There's definitely songs like Me and My Girlfriend and Hail Mary for some more ravenous type energy. There's some good singles like To Live and Die in LA and Toss It Up. There's some kind of bewildered kind of songs like Crazy and like White Man's World and some of those type ones. And then there's some vintage kind of Outlaws and Tupac type fare and Smokage type fare like Blasphemy. And there's some vintage Paranoia and Smoke Session and Outlaws type fare with songs like Life of an Outlaw and Blasphemy. So it's just a good varietized amount of things that kind of happen on this album. There's even some stuff from Tupac's old days like Hold Your Head on here. So it's definitely a good concept. There's a good burst of everything that Tupac does right, and he does it well. You get the energetic Tupac, you get some thought-provoking Tupac, you get some Smoke Session Tupac, you get some Outlaws Tupac, just some good stuff. All of this is kind of summer oriented, so this is great for like the whole summer, anything between like mid-late April to about mid-October or so. Just great ride out kind of fare, cruising tunes, summer flash, summer haze. Makeshift is even added. Makeshift, it's a new angle from Tupac to get some makeshift type tunes on here. It's interesting how that would have turned out, but it just has some overall just biting and just overall carnivorous type aspect that just really hits like a ton of bricks. So it's just the concept 10 regular score, 10 social. So it just has those aspects. In terms of the future, that's kind of difficult. In terms of the future, that's difficult because Tupac is deceased, but there are still some double albums. There's like 4 more double albums by Tupac I'm going to review, and I'm going to get to some of those next year as far as that kind of goes. So we'll get to some more of these. But for now, this is definitely a pretty excellent album. This is one of Tupac's best, and it's definitely a work of art, tour de force type stuff that just has a lot of damage to dead. Definitely you need to pick this up and fuck with that.